Welcome back to the Student Hub Live. Well, we've had a fantastic morning picking up some key skills for study. We've taken a look at time management and reading and note-taking, and there's been loads and loads of chat, loads of ideas. I hope you're feeling better about your studies right now. I hope you've learnt some stuff that reassures you. And most of all, I hope that you've got the idea that picking things up and putting things down, trying different things is all part of the learning experience, and that is what makes it fun. Now, you're already here, you're joining in digitally, but at the Open University, we've got certain ways that you can join in digitally. And if you're a new student, we'd like to explain how these work and why it's beneficial to take part in some of these. Now, you can do an OU qualification sitting in your own room, never talking to a soul. That's probably not like you if you're at this event, which is all about community and talking to each other and things like that. And OU study is something that I'm sure those of you who are continuing students will agree is a really unique experience. I don't think anyone can quite understand the terror of waiting for an assignment. Actually, I probably shouldn't say that. But, you know, the anxiety, maybe the anticipation, Isabella, might be a better word, of waiting for those scores coming back. Nobody really understands that 10% leeway and how important it is wriggling those words around other than OU students. So there is some sense of camaraderie that we have that only OU students can understand. Now, there are forums, there are all of these things that you can do, there are tutorials, and we're going to give you an experience of that in a bit. But Isabella is a tutor at the Open University and has been doing a lot of our online workshops at the Student Hub Live as well, which have been very fun. And you're going to tell us about joining in digitally and how students might do that.
Yeah, because as you said, we're a distance university and it can be incredibly isolating. You're sat there in front of your computer thinking, it's just me, it's just my study. But it's not just you and your study. You've got a whole series of different groups. So you've got your tutor, and that should be the first thing I should mention, how important your tutor is, keeping in touch with your tutor. Back when I first started, it used to be letters and phone calls, but it's mostly emails now. I still get an occasional phone call, but there's a particular that you will find on your student homepage. There's a little button that says contact your tutor, and you can send an email through that way, or they will send you a welcome email. So keep in touch with them. They will be there to answer questions. But then you've also got your tutor group, which is your group that's attached to your tutor. So roughly about 20 students. It can be a few more, can be a few less. And then you've got bigger groups and you've got a whole module as well. And what's the really, really good thing about a lot of the modules that are starting is they've got these induction forums, and they're a place where you can go in and you can say, I am really scared about this. And everybody else can say, oh, I thought I was the only one. Yeah, great. And we can all join in and be scared together. And it's really, really nice. I've been somebody that's been involved in the induction forums, and it's so nice to see students chatting to each other and saying, oh, don't be scared. Oh, you live here, or oh, you've got a dog, you've got a cat, or you like chocolate. As well. We all end up getting chocolate in there somewhere. And that's really good because you can do as much or little as you want, but there's lots of things that are there for you to be able to interact with other people.
Okay, so we're going to talk through some of those options. And like you say, there is a lot. I mean, sometimes, the times I've gone on a forum and then all of a sudden, hours later, I sit there going, what was I trying to do again? Because I'll just get sort of sidetracked with things. So you are right, there is a huge amount of choice out there, but it's about navigating this and fitting it in, especially if you're busy.
Yes, it is. And there's different ways and means of doing that. So it's a personal choice thing. There's some people who choose to study with the OU because they actually like the distance aspect because they need to fit it in with their life, or they don't find it that easy to deal with people, which is a very real thing. So there's some people that actually think, I don't want to meet people face to face. I find that too scary. I can just about cope online, but I would rather not interact. I'd rather be in the background. And I have plenty of students like that, and they will contact me and say, please don't ask me a question in the live session, which is absolutely fine. I would still encourage you to go, or if you don't go to a live session, watch recordings. You can still look at the forums. Now, you said, the forums can be massive, particularly the induction forums. One of the ones I did last year, I think we had a thread of about 700 messages in one thread, and that is pretty much unmanageable for most people. So you need to think about what you want to get out of it. Do you want to chat to other people, or do you want to find more about the module? And it's a case of looking and considering. Now, if it's an induction forum, that's the light place. But you've got your tutor group forum, which is you and your tutor, where you can ask questions and there'll be important messages. if you don't think you're likely to go into the forum and remember, there's a subscribe button.
Oh yeah, we can show a picture of this actually. So subscribing to a forum, there's a really nice little tick list that you can get. And you can also unsubscribe if you're getting too many messages.
Yes. And that's the one that I wanted to highlight because I know lots of students last year went, hey, the induction forum and subscribed. And because of this 700 messages, they were finding stacks and stacks of emails coming in. And that just got a bit too scary. So if you're going to subscribe, maybe don't do it to one of the national ones. But unless you really, really want to read stacks and stacks of messages, but do it to your tutor group forum, or sometimes you have a cluster group forum. They're sometimes called something slightly different, but they're usually called cluster forums. And that's basically a group of a few tutor groups that work together. Because the way that we run tutorials now is, because people are all over the place and because it's online a lot, we work together as tutors. So some tutorials will be run by your allocated tutors, some will be run by somebody else in the group. And therefore, we have to have access to be able to tell people about that. So there's a cluster forum, which is all of the people in that group that are studying the same module. So it's usually somewhere between 4 and 8 tutor groups. So it could be potentially somewhere between, 50 people and 100 people. So sometimes you might actually want to put a question or a comment. You might have found out something really, really interesting. You might want to say, hey, I've been to a Student Hub live event and it was really good. I want to tell more people. You could do that in your cluster group forum because then there's a few more people that might see it than your tutor group. And again, you could subscribe if you want to there. That's usually about tutorials and it's often notices, but I've had some cluster group forums which have been really, really good because people have got really into the information. One of the modules that we both do, a mental health module, they were just chatting, oh, well, I've seen this and I've seen this programme or I saw this article, and it was just chat. And it was all relevant and it was great because they really felt involved. And us as tutors went, wow, there's people talking to each other about their subject, which is what we would love to happen, is you chatting about your subject. So that's the forums, that's one of the bits. I should really mention Student Home, actually, because that's something that we quite often sort of forget. We as tutors know about Student Home, and that's the first thing that you go to when you log into the OU website. And you will see that there's all sorts of different bits, and some people find that really difficult to navigate because you've got various of these little drop-down arrows, and if you have them all open, there's loads of links. I tend to have all mine closed because then I can just think about what it is.
Well, let's just take a quick look at some of the screenshots that we've got. So the first one, we've got subscribing to a forum, the module forum, and keeping up with Student Home. So should we show students the Student Home and the keeping up
that would be a
first?
really good idea.
Oh no, let's look at the tutor group forum actually.
Okay.
So this is this handy thing that you can tick to subscribe to the forum, and then you get this feed coming into your email box.
Yeah, it does, Which
again you could put into your email box, or recently I figured out how to route them to another box so that I can then look at them, because there's certain things I like to keep track of in terms of temporality. So sometimes I like knowing, for example, one of the modules I chair, I like knowing what everyone's saying in what order, because it matters now whether I respond or not. Whereas sometimes if I'm teaching on a module, I'd prefer to go in my own time and say, actually, I'm interested in this thread and I'm not interested in this thread. So again, it's about having a purpose to what you're doing, but subscribing to a forum, in particular your tutor group forum, is important because that's where you'll get regular information. Now, the module forums are the next slide that we're going to look at. So here again, you can see your good self on some of the posts. And again, you can see here that there are some arrows at the top, which are made sticky, so they'll stay there.
So what we've got in this particular example, there's obviously I was advertising Student Hub live events, and when you see that little green arrow on the left-hand side, it means it will always stay at the top of the screen. Whereas you can just about see at the bottom, there's a new message, which they're the ones that are a new thread that will gradually move. And you can see who's posted them. You can see when the most recent message was. And you can also hopefully see there's a little envelope icon on the one at the bottom. That shows that there's something unread, and you'll see a number next to it to see how many unread. You'll probably see your module forum, you'll see lots and lots of unread ones. But it's quite a good idea because you could actually look, and you just look at the titles of the threads and say, well, actually, tutorial upcoming on something. Oh, I might want to look at that one. Or somebody saying really struggling. You may or may not want to look at that one, depending on whether you want to chat to other students about things. So having a good title is quite a good way of knowing what's in those threads.
And again, do watch out that you don't get caught up in there for hours.
Absolutely.
Other things are keeping up with Student Home. So let's take a look at this slide.
So this one, I've done a sort of an overlay on the right-hand side because there's some how do I, which is very useful. They change regularly. But then you'll see there's news for all students. And again, that's something that's quite important because I find that students often miss out. And that's key news from the university to
Yes.
every student. So it's not
Yes.
going to be specific to your module. But then you'll see down that middle bit, that's where your current module will be displayed, and that's when then you go into your module website where you can see all the other things. And then there's all information on the left-hand side. As you can see, there's loads of different links. I'm not going to go through them all.
So things that are important, so like our colleagues at the library and careers, they
Absolutely.
do fantastic
Yeah,
events,
they
and
do.
they will all be
Yeah.
promoted on there.
Yeah.
So things that are relevant to students but may not be
Yes.
specific to the module will all be flagged up
Yes.
there. So it's worth taking a quick look.
Yeah, and you'll often see the library ones particularly will come up on that right-hand side. They'll
Yeah.
either come up as a news event,
Yeah.
as will our student home ones,
Yeah.
but also how do I do referencing or how
Yeah.
do I find information, and you'll see, oh, library's doing a new event, and that's a really good thing to have a look through too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, and of course there's module news on the module websites,
There
and
is.
that's the sort of
Yeah.
staple that a lot of students would have.
Yeah.
Now, this whole idea of joining in digitally,
Yeah.
we've spoken a little bit about how some students don't want to get involved. You have taught for a long time at the Open University. What do you see in terms of the benefits? Like for some students it's the right thing to do, for some students it's not. But equally it's not really a categorical distinction of thinking I'm getting involved in this
Yeah.
or not. Sometimes you can think I'd like to go and see what a tutorial's like, but actually I'm going to bail out if I don't like it. And sometimes you
Yes.
might think halfway through a module, I know I've never rocked up to one before, but
Yeah.
I'm going now.
Yeah.
So how does it work in terms of being flexible about what you are and aren't going to commit to doing?
It's about looking at your schedule. So the time management that was being talked about earlier, that's a really important thing. So sometimes you find right at the start everybody's really, really enthusiastic and they look and they say, oh, I've got all these tutorials, and sign up to all of them. But then actually realise that that's a bit much, because you've got, depending on how many points your module is, if you're doing a 30-point module, it's 8 to 10 hours a week. If you're doing a 60-point one, it's a roughly 20 hours a week. That doesn't include the tutorials. So some people think, oh, I actually want to sign up and go to all these events, Student Hub Live events, the library events, and that's a lot of extra time. So think about what's important for you. Think about what you want to get out of it. Because if you want to find out more about referencing, if you want to find out more about tutorials, the tutorials are good. I would strongly encourage people to prioritise them, because it's a good chance to chat to your tutor and to ask questions, because one of the key things about joining in is feeling free to ask questions, because if you've got a question, odds on somebody else has got it. And if you're brave enough to ask it and get an answer, then you can imagine all these other people that are going, oh, I'm so glad you asked that. Yeah. Somebody actually said that to me. One of my tutors said that to me when I was a student years ago, when I said, look, I look really stupid because I keep asking these questions and I look really thick. And they said, no, if you've got the questions somebody else had. So I went, okay, you know what? I don't mind. I'm going to do that. But you do have to balance that one, because I know some people are just too shy to ask questions.
Yeah.
So ask your tutor, and it's still joining in, because it's joining in with your tutor, joining in with your group, with your module. There's all these different things that you can think about and balance. And it's about feeling part of it, because the more you join in, the more you feel part of it, but do way of time. We're not trying to be sort of discourage you, but we know that a lot of people at the start go, yeah, I really want to do that. And then they feel, I haven't been able to do that. Oh, I'm a failure,
Yes.
which they're not.
Yeah.
And you're not if you do that. It's just a case of balance your life,
Yeah.
think about your time management, think about how much time you might be able to, and then reassess it.
It's this whole thing, I think, of when you're studying at a distance, you can think, you're so into your own context, you know what you have and haven't gone to.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think you can sort of turn up at something thinking that everyone will go, aha, Zoe's
Yeah.
in the room now, who hasn't been to anything before, who's behind in her reading and da-da-da-da-da. And actually, that might be our feelings of where we're at right now, but it's not everyone else's. A lot of the time there's so much going on
Yeah.
that people are glad that you're there, but
Totally.
equally it's normal, I guess, to sort of be aware of your own context and situation.
Yeah, it is. And this thing with oh, am I behind? Am I ahead? Everybody's got their own lives.
Yeah.
So some people, the problem is sometimes people get really scared because somebody's talking about a question that's
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ahead.
Yeah.
But that person might have a holiday come up.
Yeah.
They might know
Yeah.
that they're going to be so busy, they literally can't study for a month.
Yeah.
I've been in situations before when I know that if I'm marking exams, I can't do my own study. So I have to block out that
Yeah.
time and think, well, I can just about cope with keeping up with the emails, but I'm not going to be able to do anything else.
No.
So I've got to get it all done before.
Yeah.
I try and do it that way rather than put it to the end, because it's quite tricky if you leave things to the last minute and then something happens.
Yeah.
That's the time when you're most likely to get stressed. So we sort of suggest you do a structure. The module guides are always a good idea
Yeah.
about how to do that.
Yeah.
And they will encourage you. There will be links to do things, but it is up to you. But think, would you benefit from a study buddy or somebody to chat to about the module? Would it help you to be able to go to a tutorial and just think, oh, there's somebody else there, have a little chat about that, or talk to your tutor, or
No, exactly.
different things.
Well, Lucy's going to come and talk to us later about collaboration, because she's been involved with some of these Facebook groups, and I don't want to take away from that session. That's on this afternoon. But she was saying, you know, that sometimes it can be a bit daunting. You can join something and then think, actually, this isn't helpful for me because everyone seems ahead, etc. So we'd ask people, I mean, a lot of people, 58% have never studied online before, so it's a completely new experience. But we did ask about preferred methods of keeping in contact with friends, and about whether people use social media. I mean, social media is a common way that people have been saying that they connect with other people to study with. So 57% of people have said that they do use social media. But let's see what they say about keeping in contact with their friends. So here in the lead, we've got 38% on the text messaging, 35% in person. Do you get messages from your students on text?
That's one thing I haven't done, because at the moment I've got a landline rather than a text.
That's even worse for text. You have a new message.
I've never had one of those on that one, actually, thinking about it. But I've thought about it, and I've sort of put out feelers and asked whether students want that, but I haven't had them. So I guess I've talked to other tutors, and some do like the text thing. It's a lot of personal choice about what you have. So it's an interesting one, because some people like to talk on the phone, and I have certain students who will phone me up who just basically want a bit of reassurance and want to know that there's somebody real there. And I think, well, sometimes that's great if you can talk on the phone. So it's lovely that people say they keep in touch that personalised way. You're making strange faces.
Oh, sorry. It's just have you seen sorry.
The strange guys over there.
I don't know. Sorry, we have been engrossed in conversation, and I haven't noticed. What are you two doing?
Well, Katrina and Rachel earlier on the chat were saying that one of her colleagues suggested that they go out and buy robes and caps. So we've got robes and caps to help them with their study skills.
But you're not studying now.
So we've got some robes.
You're supposed to be manning the hot desk.
So we thought we'd just get into the groove and get into the study spirit and get people in the mood for studying.
There's a story to do with this, which is something to do with lab coats.
Yeah, they did an experiment. It was on a TV programme. It's like a Mythbuster programme, where they had these volunteers do a test, and they put them in, well, they were just wearing their normal clothes when they did the test, and then they did the same test in lab coats, and they scored higher wearing the lab coats. So there's a kind of identification with, I don't know, wearing something that is supposed to represent being smart. You feel smarter doing it, I suppose.
I definitely feel smarter.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay indoors, HJ, but no, it's funny actually, because at the Freshers event, which we've got coming up next week, the Students' Association, they come in and they say, you've got to have these OU hoodies, they're brilliant. And everyone goes and buys OU hoodies, which are amazing. But there is something, I mean, you are acting as a student, and actually I've been researching this lately about how it's difficult sometimes if you're a part-time distance student to think, I'm a student, because you're not. You're often mopping up the kitchen, and you're taking the dog out, and you're doing this, that and the other, and cramming in your study at the side of a swimming pool, and sometimes that can feel very unstudenty. But it's this whole thing of personas and performance, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think being a part of the digital community with the Open University is going to be key into making sure that you feel in the loop, and that you know what you're doing and who you're with, and you know that other people are in the same boat as you. So stuff with USA as well. A lot of comments, people saying that they've been absolute lifesavers. Susan enjoyed the forums and the online tutorials and the social media, just to keep themselves connected, really, whilst they're on their studies.
And a lot of people are in the similar position. As you said, it's usually something that's crammed in on the side. We're not really students all of the time. Heather said she's not able to go to a regular uni as I work shift patterns, and she likes online learning because she can fit it in when it suits her best. And I think we're always saying, oh yeah, Taylor likes it because studying in bed is always better than getting out early. So I think sleeping may be the main identity there, but we can try that out.
And Pauline's asking about how to get a study buddy. Well, this afternoon there's a session about collaboration, and so we're going to be picking up some ideas. It can be, I mean, my best friend actually, we met doing our psychology degree a long time ago, and interestingly, we weren't that good friends then, and we never really talked about psychology, despite the fact that we both did it. And we met at the Open University, and it's an amazing place to meet friends and have study buddies, but it can be quite difficult to organise. So come this afternoon, Pauline, and we're going to talk about collaboration and suggest suggest some various ways that you might want to do that. And of course, we've got freshers next week as well, which is a great space. And also these events are good, as is your tutor group and your module forums, etc. Some tutors even facilitate, you know, students who want to meet up and study. And because we're digital, there's always the phone, there's always email. You don't have to meet up or be physically close, although, you know, that can often make people feel more connected. But in a digital way, like with Facebook, you know, my friends in Australia, you know, half the time I feel as connected to them as I do to my friends who live down the road, who I probably see just as often.
Yeah, true. Very true. Yeah. And I think I like the digital interaction because of this, that idea about when you can do it.
Yeah.
And the good thing about doing things on forums is, or emailing your tutor, yeah, you can email a tutor if you're in a shift pattern, you've done the work, drop them an email. They're not necessarily going to respond at 2 o'clock in the morning, but it doesn't matter. That's the good thing about not having to fit it in with, well, actually, sorry, your lecture is 11 till 1 on Monday. If you can't make it, sorry, you're not going to make it. That's what I think one of our real strengths is. And also we often record sessions. So that's the good thing about the online tutorials. They're nearly always recorded. Not always, but nearly always recorded. So you can actually then play them back and you can think, there was a really good explanation there. I'm going to keep playing that through. The same as you would do a YouTube video that helps or something like that.
It's funny, I was thinking this the other day, that often, you know, we sort of consider distance and part-time education as inferior. I can't go to a brick university, therefore, da-da-da. But actually, it's got so much potential and so many ways of interacting. And these online rooms, these Adobe Connect sessions that we're going to have are just brilliant, because you can pick them up. You can have a screaming child on your lap and you can mute your microphone. You can sort of sit there, you can go back and listen to the ones that are recorded, etc. And they're a great way of being able to connect with people in real time or watching it again afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like the online sessions. Obviously, I do quite a lot of them. And the good thing is, yes, you can mute your microphone. For me, it's normally when my cat decides to walk backwards.
I know. Or when you're opening the chocolate.
Or when I'm opening the chocolate, which I try to do subtly at the side. I was coughing eating the chocolate last week.
Guys, excuse me. We're not doing the session yet, and we're going to do it in about 5 minutes. So can you just join in digitally for the moment, and then afterwards, then we can all put our microphones on and stuff. But right now, we'll just finish. Thank you. No, I mean, and the brilliant thing as well is that you can mute the microphones in the Adobe Connect room, which is really handy.
Yes,
but the students who want to come to the session you're going to deliver in a second, they can also talk to each other, which would be great.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a bit of a time where I'll just show you through the interface, because most of you might go, Adobe Connect, I've got no idea what it is. So I'll show you. You get to log into the room and there's clear instructions, and then I'll take you through what you'll see, the kind of things you can do, and then there'll be a big chunk of time where you'll get the chance to talk to other students about what you found out today, what you're looking forward to, if there's any questions. And I'll be there, you'll be there, HJ will be there, and we'll be able to answer questions along the way.
Is it hard to use?
I don't think it's hard to use. I think it's
quite intuitive. I'm always like deleting stuff, as you know.
Yes, I know. I had to set up the room especially for Karen, who moves things around. But I think I got early training and I've been helping, so I'm probably a bit biased on that one. But it's one of those ones you can just sort of log in and just listen. As long as you've got headphones or clear speakers and that kind of, you don't have to speak on it. As long as you can hear, you need to be able to hear. So if you haven't got speakers or headphones, then it's going to make it quite
boring,
challenging. Because you're just going to be going,
you can follow the chat, I suppose.
You follow the chat, but you're missing out a bit. So if you get yourself a pair of headphones, even if it's just the ones that you listen to your phone or your Walkman or something like that, they're fine. You can have more expensive ones, but you don't need them. You just need something to be able to hear. And then we'll show you. And as long as you can chat, which I know you can from the chat room that's been going on.
Now, what's been happening in these workshops, because we're going to have more of them throughout the year, but what's the whole idea and how are they different? Because a lot of people haven't been to a Student Hub Live event before, but I think they're getting the hang of it now. But the workshops are slightly different. So can you give us a quick example of what sort of happens there that happens differently to now?
Yeah, what we do a bit differently about them when we launched them, we wanted to have a little bit of time for me and you to basically say, hi, this is what we're doing, a little bit of teaching, very much not module specific, about studying, about whatever our topic is, so if it's essay writing, just some general, and then the time, we call them breakout rooms, it's like small groups, you'll be put into a virtual room where you get the time to chat with somebody else, and you'll be in a group of anywhere up to 10 to 15 students, probably less than that. And you just get the chance to chat, the same as you would if you went somewhere face to face having a small group chat. And that's the main thing we do, because in tutorials that you have, they're great, but they're much more about the subject matter, and there's not this space to just chat, and
Yeah.
that's what we do in the online Student Hub Live sessions. Is they're there to actually chat on the microphone if you want to, or on the chat box if you also want to.
Because sometimes it's one of those things where you think you might have come to today's session thinking, I want to learn about this, I want to do that.
Yeah.
But then it's the talking to people and it's the airing that, oh, I'm a bit nervous, or I'm really looking forward to this, or how do I do that, or what have you done, or that's a great idea. And that chatting actually can really pick up those things that make a difference to your study, even if you don't think, I want to go and learn a new note-taking technique, or how to use OneNote, or this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
Sometimes someone will suggest something that really does make a difference.
Absolutely, and when we've had the plenaries after the small group sessions, people have said, oh, that was really useful because I got the chance to talk about this.
Yeah.
Somebody that's not in your module, so you might have found out something, it's a different level, and you're like, oh, well, I never thought of that, but they said, I did this, or they said, when I was doing whatever, this helped. And that's the kind of thing, these different ideas, like the ideas that the guys have been saying earlier, the things that can help you to study, or ways of solving your little niggles that you might not realise is a niggle, or might not realise it's not just you. And the chance to air it to somebody else and say, oh, well, I like studying in bed, but what happens when, or I find it difficult to study, I get tired at this time, and different people can suggest all sorts of things that help, and that's basically what we're about for that.
Brilliant, excellent. Well, I'll leave you to go and get that set up for students to come into the meantime. So thank you, Isabella, for that session. And I hope we've given you some really good tips on how you can join in digitally, shown you the various aspects. And again, this afternoon's programme is going to deal with how to work collaboratively and some good techniques. So we're going to build on some of the stuff we've done this afternoon. And one of the sessions that I know you're going to find really, really useful is about writing in your own words, and this whole idea, I guess, of bridging some of that reading and the note taking, and then being able to communicate it in a way that makes sense to you and is all your own work is a really, really important skill, and a really, really conceptually difficult one. So we're going to take a look at that. HJ and Zach, how's everything over there?
Yeah, it's good. Busy. Lots of positive chat. Lots of really good suggestions from everybody. Everybody talking about the OU Anywhere app as well. So yeah, it's been really good.
And we're just getting ready to go into the online room. So we're excited to see where our tutorials are taking place and have a little play around in a chat there. The link's in the chat. So if you want to come and join us, we look forward to seeing you there. And as always, we've got loads of great study tips and everyone's sharing stuff. Sometimes, because there is a lot there, we miss some of the questions and stuff that you might ask. So just email us, studenthub@open.ac.uk or tweet us at Student Hub Live. You can send us a direct message as well if you want, and we'd be happy to get back to you on anything we missed. But everything is in the chat. All these tips, I said the note-taking session earlier has been quite helpful because of all the stuff I'm writing down, trying to remember. But perhaps this can be our skim. Later on, I'll go watch it in more detail.
Definitely, yeah.
And are you feeling more studious in your outfits?
Oh, 100%.
Oh,
Is it working?
Yeah.
Yes, it is
I feel
working.
10
I'm more
times smarter.
focused.
And are you feeling more like joining in digitally? Are you going to go to the online room session?
Oh, yes, I've
100%.
got my headset ready in my bag. But if you've got a built-in microphone in the laptop, that will work too. But
Yeah, I often use that.
yeah, but we're just excited to join in. We'll see what it's like.
Yeah.
It'll be
And
good.
how's everyone feeling? Are people, we started the day with a lot of new students, a lot of level 1 students, and they were feeling a bit nervous and anxious and ready to get going, but not quite sure how. What's the vibe like at the minute?
I think we're all happy.
We're all happy.
Which is good.
Definitely.
We are still a bit nervous. Some of us are starting modules halfway through, got TMAs coming up, so it can be slightly stressful.
Yeah.
But a lot of us are being very supportive, and we like the tips coming through and all these different methods that we're using. I know someone's just on their level 3 module, and they felt their scores have dropped a little bit, so they came to see if there's any tips to kind of help them get through that module. Level 3, well, all the modules can be tough, can't
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's just, all the modules are going to be tough, but this is a great example of how the community vibes and feel at the Open University can really help, draw out some good questions, some good feedback, and good opportunities to share ideas and information with each other. So keep it up, I would say.
No, absolutely. It's really common to experience like a decrease in grades as you go up. And also, often, if you've been a J starter, which is in the October start, you might have a TMA 3 due around now. And those often are a bit of a ramp up as well. So having different differences in scores and different complexities of tasks. It's really, really normal. We've done a lot of Student Hub Live sessions. There's sessions on moving from level 2 to 3 that you can watch on the catch-up on the website. So if you go to studenthubליve.open.ac.uk, you can look at the catch-up, and we've also got a YouTube channel, so you can subscribe to that. But those sessions might be helpful. There are also ones on critical thinking and unpacking questions. But at level 3, do talk to your tutor, because again, like we've been saying this morning, it's all about the point and the purpose of what you're doing. And those shift as you move along. So from the descriptive to the more evaluative, and it's really getting a hang of that. But I would talk to your tutor if you're worried about that, and also think about, you know, what your expectations are in terms of grades, but understand that they do often drop down a bit at level 3. Anyway, enough about me lecturing everyone. We're going to have a break now. We're going to have an online room session, so come and join in digitally with Isabella and us. HJ's put the link in the chat. You can also access that from the Student Hub Live homepage. You don't have to come, you can have a break, or you can watch some replays. We're going to play a session that we did a while ago with Simon Bell, which is about online learning. Again, this is all on the catch-up. I mean, there are hours of stuff on the catch-up. So don't worry about that. It'd be much better to come and join in digitally if you would like to. And again, like we said before, you don't have to come right from the start of the session. You can drop in at any point. And then we're going to replay a session we did from the Open University Business School, which was with Ben and Dean, which is called A Sight for Sore Eyes, which is about plagiarism, which is setting the scene for our afternoon's activities. This afternoon from 1, we're back live, where we're going to talk about academic integrity, a really, really important thing, like what is an open university in the context of a university environment? What do academics do in terms of generating content, and how should you as a student represent that content in your own words? We'll talk about collaboration and when that borders on cheating, and how not to do that. And then we're going to talk about writing in your own words, again, which will be useful from the note-taking and reading that we did earlier today. Then we're going to take a look at referencing, often an anxiety point for new students. We're going to show you how to do that, and also talk about what is common knowledge and what might not need to be referenced. So we've got another 2 hours of live activities planned for you this afternoon. Join us in the online room now, or have a break, drop in and out as you wish. It's been a pleasure watching all of you share all your tips and advice. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you HJ, Kester and Zach for feeding all of the comments in from the chat, and I'll see you live back here in an hour.